Happy New Comic Book Day, geeks, and welcome to issue 70 of the Script Heroes podcast. I'm Katie.
And I'm Joseph, and today we're going to be talking about a bunch of cool books, including Batgirl issue 6, Hyde Street issue 5, Two-Face issue 5, Daredevil Cold Day in Hell issue 1, and Pop Kill issues 1 and 2.
That's right, hit subscribe to add our show to your pull list, and let's jump right into Batgirl. Batgirl number 6. This is coming to us from writer Tate Bromble of Christopher Chaos, House of Slaughter, and Green Lantern Dark. The pencils are Takashi Miyazawa of Miss Marvel, Spider-Gwen, and Silk. The inker is Wayne Faucher. The colorist is Mike Spicer, and the letter is Tom Napolitano. Jay, this is the end of the first arc of Batgirl. It seems like we've got more coming.
Yes, I do believe we have. We have more coming on this one, but yeah, this is an interesting issue. One positive thing I'll say right off the back is that Jayesh, if that's how you pronounce it, has returned after weirdly not going in after Shiva in the previous issue. So that was nice that he actually did something.
And they briefly addressed, I know I was supposed to stay with the getaway bike. Okay, we see that you possibly had a plan. Still a little weird, but that's okay.
Yeah. Agreed. This is a very interesting issue because I feel like in the broad strokes of this issue, I like it a lot. I really like the ending of this issue. I think that's quite good. And as usual, this book has really good action and some cool artwork throughout it. My main thing with this issue is I feel like there's a lot of character whiplash.
Agreed.
I feel like Cass is ping-ponging instead of arcing, which is a little bit unfortunate for the finale issue of the arc. It's still enjoyable, but I certainly felt a little bit. I felt that it hurt. I don't want to say what the ending is here, but the ending of this issue, which I think is really well done and a great moment, is hurt by Cass's ping-ponging emotions throughout this issue.
I agree. And the thing is, I think I understand Cass having conflicted feelings about everything that's going on, and I think that you can pull that off without making it feel kind of fickle, this whole
it didn't
arc.
feel conflicted. It felt like she always felt one way, and it just kept bouncing back and forth.
That's kind of what I'm getting at. Is this whole arc has been her dealing with her feelings about Lady Shiva, about her being her mother. And I feel like the way that they went about it in this final issue was the final issue of the arc was a little odd, because you both get the initial anger that she had and kind of the result of their journey together, but it didn't feel super earned at the end, because throughout the entire thing she's constantly been going back and forth, and so it hasn't felt like one side really won out over the other until the very last moment, and it felt like that was coming from a very reactive place instead of a settled place. So she was constantly reacting to what the most recent thing Lady Shiva had done was. So the emotion we get at the end, which, like you're saying, it was a very well done ending. And I feel like if it didn't have the ping-ponging before, it would have worked really, really, really well. But because she's been so flip-floppy for the entire series so far, it felt a little okay, so right now we're on this side. But I feel like it doesn't feel like we're gonna stay on this side because we haven't stayed on one side. And that
I think you point out something really important there, which is that it's very much based on whatever the latest thing she learns about Lady Shiva is, which is makes it, I think, a little bit more ping-pong. But that does lead to something that I actually want to give them props on here, because they actually went a different angle than I think what we were expecting earlier in the book. Which is, firstly, I really like the backstory behind the Unburied that we get in this issue.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the Unburied, I think, is going to be the best thing to come out of the series.
Definitely,
if they can be an existing thing for the DC universe now. I think they're super cool, super rad. I really, really like them.
Great aesthetics.
Yeah, absolutely. They feel like they're out of Lego Ninjago, which is like really great. But the big thing I want to say is I think we were really feeling that this series was kind of going into the water of, oh, Cass is gonna feel better about Lady Shiva because we're just gonna keep learning Lady Shiva is actually this like great person for other people in
Yeah.
the shadows. This issue did a little bit of like backtracking with that, which is why Cass flip flops the one way, which is why maybe from a character standpoint it didn't work great, but from like a Lady Shiva in a complexity standpoint, I really like the like reveal in this issue of like, no, still awful human being. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say my only gripe with that, and I feel like I'm saying a lot of gripes, which I don't intend. I've enjoyed this series a lot. Uh, my gripe with it is we get like very little concrete detail on like what she did with the Unburied,
Yeah,
because there's like talk of like, oh, she came and found them and they were her latest challenge, but
yeah,
then the Unburied leader, or, the guy who we've been dealing with, is like, yes, we knew that what comes after,
yeah.
people discovering us is war, so we decided to go to war first. And I'm like, okay, so that doesn't really, like, it doesn't really sound like Shiva did anything there, so I wish that we had more details on what happened when she found their, like, underground civilization.
Yeah, I'm worried if it's something that like Tape Rumble's like holding back because he
Hmm.
wants to like do a flashback or he wants to do a separate story that Shiva like find. I don't because I certainly agree with you. It felt like intentionally vague,
Yeah.
which makes me think that it's because Tape Rumble wants to like do it at some point. But
Hmm.
that's full speculation. It
I
could
mean,
absolutely not be
the
the case.
to be continued is literally next the definitive history of Lady Shiva, so maybe it'll
That's
be in
true. So
there.
maybe it is. Maybe it is just going to be something that we hit on
Mhm.
there. Um.
But it's one of those
Yeah.
things where, if you're being vague in the story, uh, it it hides that stuff
Yeah.
from us, and we're asking these questions, which
Absolutely.
then begs the question of why isn't Cassandra asking these questions?
Yeah. Very fair. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else you want to hit on here?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Great
This
art,
is
really
yeah.
wonderful.
And this is I think the first time in a little while that we've been getting an ongoing Batgirl series.
Yeah.
So let us know down below what your favorite Batgirl series is, and is this kind of climbing the ranks for you? Is
Mhm.
this where is this in that if you're reading it?
Yeah,
If you're
there have
not reading it,
historically
then
been some really long Batgirl series, so
yeah,
this has a lot of room to climb, but
yeah.
it's got
It
a
does feel like one of those characters though that can get like that Nightwing spot where like it's popular enough of a character to not get rebooted, but not
Mhm.
so popular that they want the new number one. So I could see this. I
Exactly.
could see this going for a
Hell yeah.
bit.
But
But
we have
next week we have
many more
another
books to talk about.
character.
That's right.
Yeah,
It's
we're gonna
time
be
to go
talking about
talk about
yeah.
Two-Face.
Two-Face, issue 5. The writer of the series is Christian Ward of Bloodstained Teeth, Odyssey, and Batman City of Madness. The artist is Fabo Veris of Harley Quinn Black, White, and Redder, and DC's Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. The colorist is Ivan Placencia, and the letter is Hassan Atsman Allow. Katie, we've been overall fairly pleased with the Two-Face
Yeah.
series. I believe we've thrown around things such as the definitive Two-Face series. So, how'd you feel about issue 5?
Yeah, it's been a really great series so far. And first, I want to say I think a big part of that has been the art. Fabo Veras'
Yeah.
art has been so cool, especially with Ivan Placencia's coloring. They've gotten
Yeah.
to do a lot of really cool, trippy things inside Harvey's mind. And this issue is kind of a direct complement to issue 4, where that one took place almost entirely in Harvey's mind space, and this one takes
Yeah.
place pretty much entirely in the real world, in this, white court that Harvey has created.
Yeah.
I think that it is a really good, like, penultimate issue. Any penultimate issue that has a good amount of violence is probably a good
Yeah.
penultimate issue, because it means it really raises the stakes a lot before going into your final issue. I was gonna say your final act, but that doesn't really make sense here. Um, I think that it's really, I'm really excited about the reveal at the end. I think that it would have been a little bit incomplete as a series without it, while talking around what it actually is. So
Yeah,
I quite liked that, and I like the angle that it looks like that's going to be taken. And
yeah.
I also like Dice. I don't know that I know her. Do you know who she is?
No, I've never encountered Dice
Me
before.
either. It's one of those things where, in the grand scheme of Batman mythos, so many people have written it, and there are so many series going at
Yeah,
literally any given time that it's like, is this a new character, or is this, someone who showed up for 3 issues 5 years ago and everyone forgot about? But I think that
yeah,
she's really effective. I think that her little gimmick is really fun. Um, and I quite liked what she had going on in the courtroom. My only drawback from this issue, really, well, other than my general complaint that we didn't get to see the sick art of Harvey's Mind Palace, because that's
ah,
just always such a
that
treat.
yeah,
I feel
important.
like the storyline of Lake, who's this, essentially assistant Harvey has, kind of like
Yeah,
his little evil paralegal. Um,
yeah. That's yeah,
Yeah, hey, that's what she is. She's an evil paralegal, it's fine. I feel like they leaned really hard onto it in this issue, and one of the complaints we've had throughout the whole series is that it feels like Lake isn't really earning her stripes in the book. Like, her relationship with Harvey hasn't really been explored in a way that I think makes her feel necessary, or even, like, I don't know, super important to the main narrative of the book. And she gets real center stage in this one in a way that I think isn't quite earned yet.
yeah,
Like, she needed a little more to do. She needed a little more personality on the page in the previous issues. Just something to make her really feel like she belongs here. For her to be, like, kind of the secondary main character of this book.
yeah. That's fair. I agree with a lot of what you said. My big gripe is actually that I don't love it as a follow up to 4, because I
Hmm.
feel like the big ending of 4 is Harvey
Yeah.
like locking away Two-Face, and
Hmm.
then he's like really scared about Two-Face here. So
Right.
like it didn't feel like it had a great immediate follow up to
Hmm.
me. It felt a little bit weird. I was at the beginning of this and I was like, did last issue just not happen? It didn't make last issue feel super important to me. You know, after how
That is
great
fair.
last issue was, I was like, it now feels like we didn't really need a full issue doing that if we weren't really going to
Mhm.
get the kind of follow up to it here.
Well,
My
here's my
then
quick
my
immediate question to
yeah
that. Would you have felt differently if there was, like, a montage sequence at the start of the passage of time? Because we get at the start that it's been, like, what, a month or a few months since, and he's, like, sequestered himself away, like, hiding.
Yeah, I think it's some amount of time. I don't know
Yeah. Do
exactly
you
what they
think that
said, but
the
no, because
victory
I
in
think
okay.
if with the big ending of the previous issue being like this big moment for him where he's like,
Mhm.
I don't think it makes sense for him then to be like, I need to lock away Two Face every night to make sure he doesn't come out. I was like, that doesn't feel like a good
That
follow to
is
me. So
so fair.
him
That's fair.
hiding away for a month after that night like doesn't really track for me. It doesn't
Mhm.
feel like a good follow up. But in any case, my slight gripe is as much as I like Dice, I feel like Two Face, Coin, 50-50. You can really justify doing whatever the hell you want plot
Mhm.
wise. Dice rolling 2 dice, it's much harder to justify her constantly getting the rolls that she needs.
That's so fair. That is a good,
Like,
well,
it's a minor gripe because it doesn't really matter, but like from my just little problem, I'm like, that is a little bit harder to justify. And then like you have your 1 in 6 big, which is a little bit better than our usual rolling of 2 dice. But then you have your 1 in 6 like ending thing and it landing where it needs to. It's a little bit harder to justify from a probability thing, but
yeah,
that's not
yeah. No,
a
the
big
two
gripe.
dice
That's just
for
my
sure is
yeah.
insane.
Especially because they explicitly make her say that there's only 2 combinations of the 2 dice that she actually like kills
Yeah.
on, and it's like
So I'm just picturing her over there just
it's like
shooting
okay,
craps in the
she
corner
2 out
until she
of
gets a shoot.
36, and like we're supposed to believe that her 2 rolls both landed on that. It's like anyway, that's a much smaller gripe that I
That's
just wanted
fair.
to pull
That's
out.
fair.
I think it's funny to talk about. But I did like Dice in this issue overall. I thought she was very fun. Um, and I thought it was a cool issue overall.
Mhm.
And I like where it places us. Like you said, the ending that we don't want to talk about, but I like where
Yeah.
that places us going into the final issue. But yeah, I feel like the follow up to issue 4 could have been a little bit stronger in terms of making it feel like issue 4 really
Mhm.
mattered.
Like, maybe if it was a 5-issue series instead of a 4. Or if, they moved
Yeah,
issue 4 into the slot of issue. Like, I feel like the
yeah,
last issue felt very penultimate
it
as
did. Yeah,
well.
that's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I'll give you that. I think the ending of this issue is why this is penultimate. And but yeah,
If you
I
were to
agree.
go on a random probability-based crime spree, uh, what method of randomness would you choose for yours?
One of those
Coins and
old
dice are
school
already taken.
fortune tellers, like the little like
The
the
like
the little
the
side. Yeah.
insane, and just like one of the flaps says murder.
Yeah. The flaps all, murder, light maiming, let him go
Dismemberment.
free, just rob him, like that's
That's insane, and I like that it requires both of your hands, so you will have had to like put your gun under your
oh,
armpit to do it.
oh yeah. You have to have some sort of powers in addition so that people don't just kill you when you're doing it, or maybe you give it to them and you make them do their own fate, you know.
That
Anyway.
is so convoluted. I love it. Hey, still less chances for failure than 2 dice being tossed.
Ooh, let's go talk about Daredevil Cold Day in Hell.
Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell, #1. This is coming to us from Charles Soule as the writer. He's written Daredevil, Star Wars, and 8 Billion Genies. And the artist is Steve McNiven of Wolverine, Civil War, and the Avengers. The letter is Clayton Cowles. Jay, you're a bit of a Daredevil fanboy, if I may
I
say.
like Daredevil.
Yeah, yeah,
I enjoy a good Daredeviling. Um
yeah. You've danced in the moon, or
um
danced with the
Importantly though,
Daredevil in
Charles
the
Soule
Pale
is one of
Moonlight.
the major runs that I haven't read. I think we mentioned
Oh.
this when Muse popped back up in the current Daredevil series,
Mhm.
because I mentioned that I hadn't read the run where Muse died. That's Charles Soule's run.
Was that the
So yeah,
one just before Zdarsky, or was that a little more
yeah,
historical?
no, I believe it's right before Zdarsky.
Okay,
Zdarsky's the first modern run. My Daredevil is mostly composed of Frank Miller and Chip Zdarsky. That
that's
is
so
the
fair.
majority of, and those are very long runs. So despite it being
Mhm.
only two creatives, it's quite a bit of Daredeviling.
My
Um,
Daredevil is comprised in totality by the first volume of the one that Mark Waid wrote.
There you go. There you go. But in any case, I'm also a huge sucker for these past your prime,
Mhm.
somewhat dystopian future hero stories. I love these. Last Ronin is my favorite comic of all time. Love Dark Knight Returns. All these types of stories I tend to be a big fan of. So
Mhm.
when I heard Daredevil was getting the treatment, I pitched Katie on us doing this, and I'm glad that I did. My I always start with the gripes, which maybe makes it seem like I dislike books that I do like. Up top, really did like this issue quite a bit. My main gripe with this versus a lot of these other like future end of Europe hero stories is I think this one could have done a better job placing us in this future
Yeah.
Marvel universe. Like that was my big thing, is I feel like the front bit of this issue, which is like your establishment, could have been stronger. I would
Mhm.
have liked a little bit more about this world, a little bit more about what's happened to Matt Murdock. We know he doesn't start with his powers in this issue. Like, I feel like there's some good world building you can do there, and I don't know if this 100% hit on that. But once we get to like the back half of this issue,
Mhm.
basically once the daredeviling really starts, once
Yeah.
things really kick in a gear, I really start to enjoy this issue, and I think, okay, McNiven's art I think works super well for like this old man Daredevil. I
Yes.
really do like Matt as a character in this. I like old man Matt. I think he's really fun. And then once we start to get to we meet another. I think it's probably too deep to not to
I think
spoil
so
who the
too.
other major Marvel character. Actually,
Agreed.
technically, we meet two because we get one at the
Mhm.
end too. But we actually meet one who ends up being kind of a part of the plot, which was really really rad. And then we get into like the villain who I don't know if he's meant to be an existing character, but if he
Okay, I'm
is,
glad that you don't.
he's so badly scarred and destroyed that it is not possible, I think, to
Yeah.
tell who he is meant to be. Though I have a theory. And then we go into to meeting another big hero at the end, who's in a rough spot, but I'm very excited to see kind of where that's gonna go. So yeah, I think this one didn't have that great opening,
Mhm.
but then it really gets rolling, and it has me quite excited for the rest of this 3-issue oversized series.
Yeah, I had pretty much the exact same gripe as you in that I feel like there's a lot happening in this world that we aren't giving context for,
Yeah.
but it's context that everybody in the book has. So
Yeah.
it's that's like my least favorite type of world building where it's like I don't know what's happening, but the book characters do. No,
Yeah, you
I
want
should
to
know
know what
more
your
than
character.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh
Agreed.
but other than that, yeah, I think it was pretty well done. I think that the way that Matt was written was really great. I think that he, especially before he got his powers back, was very real and present on the page. And
Yeah.
then the whole sequence as he gets his powers back, so cool, so
Oh
rad.
God,
I
yeah.
love the way that he like experiences that. Um, and like you said, the art from McNiven is so good for like it feels like a weird compliment, but it's so good for the ugly and the like the
Yeah,
old. Um not that the two are
yeah.
the
Ugly
same, but
kind of looks a little crusty. Like it's kind
there's
of
a lot of
these.
texture going on with people.
Yeah, a lot of textured wrinkles on
Yeah, yeah.
people. People feel like kind of like raisins, which it works really well for these
It works so well.
old people.
It really, really does.
Yeah,
And I really liked the way that he, I think that they did a good job of when he was not being Daredevil, of still speaking to like I don't know the heart of the character. Like
yeah,
he's most of these you see like the old man character, and they're like so gruff and jaded, and Matt is still like kind, which I think is so important
yeah,
to where this is going to end up going. Like I think that they really were conscious of making sure that the character still felt like himself at its core, which I think was a great move. Um,
yeah,
yeah, so really, really well done. Like you said, it feels like it's going to be an exciting series to
yeah.
be picking up
Fully
for the
agreed on
three
that
issues that it
front.
exists.
Yeah, yeah. It's a short one. Well, I guess
Mhm.
it's about the same size as a normal miniseries. It's just collected in
Chonky.
3 big boys instead of
Mhm.
6 normal sized boys.
Which is better for than normal for Marvel since they normally do the 5 issues.
That's actually true. It's
Yeah.
actually a longer series than
There you
Marvel
go.
usually does. So we stay winning. Uh, is it Pop Kill up next? Are we gonna
It is.
pop
It is
over
Pop Kill up next.
and kill?
We're gonna enter
Yeah.
the Mad Cave.
Pop Kill issues 1 and 2. We've got 2 writers on the series. We've got Jimmy Palmiotti of Jonah Hex, Harley Quinn, and Hawkman, and we have, interestingly, as the co-writer of the series, Dave Johnson, who's really mainly an artist. Could not find many writing credits at all, but he's the artist on 100 Bullets and Superman Red Sun. So,
Sweet.
some big art credits
Yeah.
there. The artist on the series is Juan Santa Cruz of Hulk, Fantastic Four, and X-Men. The colorist is Brian Weber, and the letterer is Sean Kanat. A little interesting thing here. I was just like looking up this book, and I noticed that there were
Mhm.
2 pop kills, and so I looked into it. And interestingly, this was originally a Kickstarter book, which I didn't
Oh.
know that Mad Cave did much of. So I don't
Yeah.
know if they've done it before or if this is the first time, but this was originally a Kickstarter series, which is actually, I'm guessing, why it has why it has more pages than a typical Mad Cave
Right.
offering.
Yeah, very interesting. Because you're right. I
Yeah.
don't know that Mad Cave does normally do that.
Yeah.
It also might explain because we both noticed because we both read through Global Comics, I believe,
Yeah.
and we noticed the physical books have like a $7 price tag or something like that.
Yeah.
So that could also be part of the reason
Global
why
Comics.
if they've got something going on as like you did your Kickstarter, now we'll publish it, if that contributed to that.
Yeah. Well, the Kickstarter I think was a while ago. It's like 2020.
Mhm.
So I'm guessing this is
Wow.
they did the whole Kickstarter, and then for whatever reason somehow it led to Mad King wanting to
into shops with it.
yeah.
But yeah, it's always interesting when we do this like kind of catch-ups format
Yeah.
where we didn't read issue 1 when it came out, but space cleared up in this week, and we're like, this is a series we thought about reading, so
Yeah.
let's do issues 1 and 2 and add it to the list.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of pop kill content, and
Yeah.
then try to parse it out. Issue 2, I think, is so the series itself has a really exciting concept, I think, of these like warring soda pop companies.
I love this.
Like,
This is such strange
right?
Saturday Super Show material in the sense of
Oh
all this
yeah,
chaos happening around soda companies.
absolutely. It's got such like a great concept going on from on high, and then we get this like very kind of uh Archer-esque main character in John, where he's like the essentially like a super spy. Like he's going in, he's doing his like, I mean, like he's hitman, whatever. But he
Yeah.
doesn't have like the grimness of a
No,
hitman. He's
he's
got
having a
more of
grand
like,
old time.
exactly, he's got more of, that's why I gave him kind of the super spy moniker, because
That's
he's
fair.
got more
No,
of the kind of
I
like
understand that.
ego, sleeping around, like international man of mystery vibe about him. Uh, and so we get a lot of interesting components all coming together. This also all takes place in Japan, which just feels like it comes out of nowhere too. Um, the presence of the little dog is so great. And
Yeah.
historically, in the Scriptures podcast, we know that if you want Katie to read a book, just put a dog in it. I love a dog in a book. And this is the presence of the dog is so odd because the dog is there for active combat. Um, yeah, I think that it's a fun adventure. I think that it might have a bit of an odd tone for me. Like I feel like it kind of walks a middle line between a
Yeah.
lot of genres and doesn't quite step fully into any of them in a way that makes me feel like I really understand the identity of the book, or like really how I'm supposed to be reading it. Like, is it supposed to be a comedy? Because there are a lot of parts of it that feel like it's supposed to be a comedy. Is it supposed to be like a kind of, I don't know, like almost detective kind of book where they're trying to figure out what's going on with all of these conspiracies? Uh, is it supposed to be a kind of like James Bond-esque adventure? I feel like there aren't a lot of like markers to really make me feel the genre of the book, which isn't
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing. It just makes it a little tough to be like, okay, we're in a gunfight. Do I think this is a book where I have to be worried about somebody dying? Like, what am I supposed to feel that the stakes are
Yeah.
here?
No, I think that's super fair. This for me lands into one of those books that I'm really glad we did 2 issues of,
Mm-hmm.
because I really actually disliked the first issue, quite a bit, because
Yeah.
like the first 2/3 of the first issue don't really settle you with the characters. It's a lot more
Mm-hmm.
like world stuff, which wasn't as interesting to me. Once John and Dina become the like full main characters of the
Yeah.
book towards the end of the first issue and then all of the second issue, I think it becomes a much more enjoyable book because it becomes more of this like weird, fun adventure
Yeah.
around soda companies, and then like the stuff of the like Siamese twin,
Yeah.
CEOs becomes more of like a cutaway gag where it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we get the like fun little moments, so we kind of know what's lingering, instead of like in the front of the first issue that was like the majority of the content. And that
Yeah.
was really when I was sitting there and I was like, I don't know what I'm like what this is meant to be. Like, am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be getting in the nitty gritty of like how these soda companies operate? Like, is that the book? But then once we started on this adventure, I landed more in like, no, this is just like absurdist, maybe like you said, like super spy kind of stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
around these soda companies, which I think is a lot more fun and a lot more
Agreed. Yeah.
enjoyable. Um, so yeah, I quite liked issue 2. Issue 1, not as high on. I think it's a 4-issue mini, I believe. So we're halfway through, which is, I certainly don't know what the plot feels like we're halfway through, but I'm looking at it more of the first issue as a mulligan, and we're now a third of the way through the series once we got into the actual adventure. Which I feel like is much more like what the plot feels like so
Mm-hmm.
far. Like, it feels like we're
Agreed.
a third of the way in plot arc wise. Um, but yeah, I think it's a fun time. You win a lot of credit when your concept is like hitmen and assassins and stuff all around soda companies, because that's just fucking hilarious.
You get a lot of credit when you've put in a fizz department.
Yeah, like that's fucking what Dinah does.
Yeah.
She's the fizz expert.
This whole thing is because she found a way to make sodas not go flat, and now they're trying to kill each other over
Yeah,
this
honestly,
formula.
it reminds me a lot, in just the like Brushstrokes world building way of Chew, in like this is all because people are selling illegal chicken, and like
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
all about soda. Like they just both have that nice absurdist like angle to them in the world building, which I think
Mm-hmm.
for me is one of the best ways to make me accept more comedic stuff, because it's like
Yeah.
this is not real world. Like I don't have
Mm-hmm.
to sit here and be like, but people are dying. This shouldn't be funny. Like when we're talking about it and it's all around soda, it's like this is not real life, and I can really let go then.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
That's
I
fair.
think issue 2 is good. Issue 1 I think was a bit of a stumble, which again, if we had just read issue 1, I don't know that we would have made it to issue 2. So this is
Mm-hmm.
certainly one where I'm happy that we did a back to back.
Yeah, I think I am too. I just have a bit more trouble parsing the two of them out from each other.
No, that's
Yeah.
super fair. Yeah,
Yeah, but if you're reading Pop Fizz, tell us, are you
yeah.
team Pop Kill? Are you team what is it, Popco, or team Fizz Inc?
And then there's
Right?
actually the third one too.
Yes.
There's the number 3
Soda
company.
Prime or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
What
which
team
was
do you land on?
and did anybody actually read this as a Kickstarter? It looked fairly popular when I looked at the Kickstarter. Seemed like it did pretty well.
Yeah. Let us know down below. And we are going to move into our final book of the week, Hyde Street. Hyde Street number 5. The writer here is Jeff Johns of Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Rook Exodus. The co-creator of the series is Ivan Reis of Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Blackest Night. The artist on this issue is Francis Portela of Black Panther, Legion of Superheroes, and Halo. The colorist is Brad Anderson, and the letter is Rob Lee. Jay, Hyde Street. Is you dig it.
What a way to put it. What a way
Yeah.
to put it. It's interesting that we're getting a fill artist already on issue 5 here after
Mm-hmm.
some delays. I thought, I was not expecting that, is what I'll say, because Rook went on hiatus to avoid having a different artist,
Yeah.
and that still got 6 issues out before it did that. So after the delay of the Christmas issue, I'm guessing that Ivan Reis is taking a little bit longer than expected with issues, but that's pure speculation.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we kind of get, it's hard to say a fillery-ish issue, because a lot of them have been kind of similar in structure. We do get a little bit of main plot moving along. We get some X-Ray interacting with what's the Devour lady's name?
Glee, good body.
Glee. So we get some Mr. X-Ray interacting with Glee. Overall, I think it's a solid issue. It's, I think, probably my least favorite backstory that we've gotten. It's not overly exciting, and honestly, the Devour issue, despite the fact that it didn't follow her and instead followed somebody that she was, like giving stuff to, I thought was better for her character versus this
Mm-hmm.
like actual backstory for her, because it was, it was all right. The art was good for filler, like it's not like the art got worse with Francis Portela. Francis did a great job, I think, with this issue. And it was still an enjoyable issue, but it's certainly for me is the issue where I'm like, God, can we get a little bit more plot progress here? Like, I don't know, this backstory was added as much as a lot of the other ones did, and
Mm-hmm.
the stuff where it was X-Ray actually interacting with her was, I think, the highlight of the issue, and it was very short, so I would have preferred more actual plot movement there. Yeah,
Yeah, it was
but it's
very
still
short,
solid.
and like I think it's generous to say that him interacting with her was any sort of plot movement.
I mean, I think so. It relates to the main issue of Pranky, and he's, trying to. Yeah, no, I think it's what I was to say. He's trying to get her on his side against Pranky, and then the ending of this issue, which I won't spoil, is seemingly to propel that forward to where, you know, she might actually join us. So I'd push back pretty strongly that it's
I don't
pretty
know. I don't know.
moving.
I feel like this is more of what I've been not a fan of with Hyde Street, which is like really no movement on the, like I feel I think that that could be justifiably called groundwork for something without the rest of the series' context where we've just kind of been touching all of these things. Like they're really not they I would say that they're laying the road as they're walking on it, but it's almost like they're tossing, you know, a bit of asphalt over onto the road while, you know, walking on a path in the woods. So that was a very convoluted metaphor. But basically it felt like it felt almost like a placating thing where it's like, oh, and also X is here, I suppose. And they'll talk about how much they don't like Pranky. And it just felt
I
like
agree without the like. I agree with your concern,
Mhm.
especially in this issue of like we're not super following. But I still think it's certainly plot movement when there's setup and then there's payoff at the end of the issue that seems like it's going to lead into her then, you know, going in that. Like I think that's decidedly plot movement. It's not necessarily
And
well done plot movement, but it is certainly plot movement because the plot
you know,
has moved.
sure, mileage may vary. I don't think that it moved the plot. I think that if there was more of that interaction as like a kind of central thing, that'd be one thing. But it was just kind of like tacked in there. Uh, but that's beside the point. I mean, that is one of the points. But then I am fine to, you know, just agree to disagree on that one. But yeah, I think that this is another one where I'm because the thing with the previous issue with the Frankenstein guy is that even though it wasn't like a super, you know, Mr. X's plot moving
Yeah,
forward issue, it was still like a really really good single
yeah, it
issue.
was really good.
I feel like this one had a couple of elements where I was really excited by them. Like I really like Sisterhood. I think she's super cool as like possibly an entity on Hyde Street. Uh but all of the stuff with Glee Goodbody 1 feels like stuff that like we could have guessed about her. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like she has any sort of cool twist on herself the way that X and Pranky and the monster have. And it just left me a little like I'm like, okay, I feel like Hyde Street just didn't even need to come out this month.
No, I think that's super fair because again, I don't think much really happened, and they weren't
Mhm.
focusing on what I think they ought to be at this point. I do think next month is advertised to be a Mr. X-ray story, so that does seem to be
Thank
that
Christ.
we will actually be moving forward finally. But yeah, I think this was one of the most underwhelming issues
Mhm.
of Hyde Street. I don't know that that Goodbody needed the backstory, especially when we already got a one shot that kind of was focused on her.
Yeah,
So you
look,
know,
I've said it
yeah,
before about this series, and I'll say it again. I feel like they just should have made it a series of one shots, like the Hyde Street presents, and then show your weird little folks.
but yeah, how do you feel about Hyde Street? Are you enjoying the like? I guess not villain of the week, the protagonist of the week format. I guess is what you'd call it. Um, or do you want more of the overarching plot that seems to be moving into Mr. X-Ray and maybe Team versus Pranky instead of what we originally thought was going to be? You know,
Them
more of
teaming up
a team up.
together.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's the last of our books to review this week, which
it
means
is.
it's time for the pull list rec. Jay, do you have a rec pulled for our dear viewers?
I do. I do. I believe. I'm quickly gonna. Yeah, yeah. I I agree with myself.
Well, I
I
would
am
love
going to. Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah. No, no. I'm going to. I am going to recommend Daredevil: Cold Day in Hell issue 1, even with the little bit of stumbling. I think placing you in the world. I still think it's a very good issue, and especially if you're a Daredevil fan, I think it's very enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm gonna be right there with you. I think that it feels like the start of something exciting. Like
Yeah.
the series feels like it's going to be something that you're not going to want to.
Old man superheroes, just it tends to be. It's a bit of a cheat code. It's
It's the good
it's gonna
stuff.
feel important and good. Yeah, exactly. But we have other things. Katie,
Yes.
next week, what we talk about?
Next week is, our monthly Batman week. We've got Batman and Robin number 20, Batman Dark Patterns number 5. We also have Laura Kinney Wolverine number 5, and the new Amazing Spider-Man book launches. So we have Amazing Spider-Man number 1. We're jumping into.
I know people have lots of feelings on Amazing Spider-Man, so
yes. We'll see what ours are.
Yeah.
We're also going to be picking back up with Jump Scare number 2, and finally, The Moon is Following Us number 8.
That's right. But if you need more script heroes right now, we recently had our month 6 recap and reviews for the Absolute Universe. That is the month with all the new number 1s.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find out everything you need to know about Absolute Green Lantern issue 1, Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 1, and Absolute Flash issue 1, as well as the issue 6s of the other 3 titles. We give our thoughts and we tell you everything that you need to know fairly quickly about those books. So,
yeah. But if you say, I really want more script heroes, but in the future, fear not, because the Strange Saturday Super Show is back this coming weekend.
Yes.
We are going to be talking about the book Bad Reception from Aftershock Comics.
Do you want to give a quick, because this is the first I'm finding out, do you want to give a quick blurb?
So it's the celebrity wedding of the century set in an undisclosed remote location with no access to Wi-Fi, cell phone reception, or the outside world. But the dream wedding becomes a nightmare when one by one the guests are brutally slaughtered by a serial killer who brands his victims with a hashtag. So I've had this book for a while, and I really got Jay with that one. I've had this book for a while, and it's something that does concern me a little bit. I'm like, it might be fun and good, or it might be heavy-handed and bad. We're gonna find out together. Literally, the entire book is made by Wando, writer, artist, colorist, lettering, all of it.
Oh man,
which is a Katie Markham special. I love a writer artist.
You do.
And, throw colorist and writer in there as well, or and letterer in there as well. It's all good times. But additionally, for more script heroes content, if you're gonna be at C2E2, say hi. I'll be there all weekend.
Yeah, bother Katie as much as humanly possible.
Please do.
But as always, that's everything we have for you guys this week. We hope to see you next week. Comic Geeks.